Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar called When a Managed Services Approach Produces Better Consumer Experiences. I'm Debbie House, Editor-in-Chief of Retail Touchpoints, and I'll be moderating today's presentation. We're honored to be joined today by Diana Pace, Partner Managed Services North America at Toshiba Global Commerce Solutions. She'll share insights into the benefits of partnering with solution experts. This webinar is a part of the Retail Touchpoints 2018 Connected Consumer Series. During this series, attendees have the opportunity to hear from leading industry experts who are discussing the most important topics on retailers' minds today. By registering for one session, attendees have access to all complimentary presentations, both live and on demand. So our speaker today is Diana Pace, who currently leads the North America Managed Services business for Toshiba Global Commerce Solutions. She is a results-driven seasoned leader with more than 20 years of retail deployment experience. In this role, Diana manages the sales and delivery functions of the managed services practice and is responsible for customer sales, project portfolio leadership, PMO management, service delivery management, and sales strategy. Diana's areas of expertise lie in project planning, project execution, risk analysis, mitigation strategies, and delivery excellence. With her proven track record, Diana has successfully launched and expanded the deployment services organization for 2 Fortune 500 companies. She helps clients transform their business with technology enablement tools and processes that lead to increased revenue growth while realizing streamlined costs and increased efficiencies within the organization. Her extensive background includes roles in managed services, financial management, call center operations, business development, and contract operations. So with that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Diana.
Thank you, Debbie, very much. First of all, I want to thank you guys for attending this webinar, and I really hope you find it valuable. As Debbie said, my name is Diana Pace, and I've spent 20 years doing this retail thing, specifically doing retail deployments. I've worked for multiple companies, and I've done many deployments, and as you can see on the right side of your screen, some of the deployments that I've been responsible for. So the first one is we deployed over 75,000 devices in 3,700 stores in 5 months for a Tier 1 mass merchant. Also self-checkout, which is very popular now. A lot of stores are picking up self-checkout as the next technology, and many stores are involved with self-checkout. So I've also deployed over 12,000 self-checkout lanes to a Tier 1 mass merchant. And you can see some of our POS solutions in action at some of these major retailers like Walmart, Kroger, Kohl's, and Starbucks. Today's discussion, we're going to focus on using technology expertise for in-store deployments, optimizing lane availability, and enhancing the customer in-store experience using the managed services approach. So most of you listening today are retailers wondering if you should perform deployments yourself or outsource it, right? So let me ask you some questions. Do your resources do the resources you have, are they already allocated to critical projects? Probably so. Do you manage multiple projects with multiple vendors? Probably so. Do you have the expertise in managing deployments end-to-end? Maybe. Are you concerned about missing rollout deadlines or going over budget? Probably. So let's dig a little deeper. When to engage managed services and what really is managed services? For a clear definition, we don't have to look any further than Wikipedia. And I quote, "Managed services is a practice of outsourcing day-to-day management responsibilities as a strategic method for improving operations." Clear as mud, right? So here's really a clear definition. So maybe your situation is you don't have resources, or you have limited resources, you have some experience or no experience to upgrade and install your technology. So you make the decision to hire someone else to help you do it. You have a business to run, so you really can't move critical resources off their real jobs and their real tasks. You can't have a front-end supervisor installing POS systems instead of helping customers, right? So this means you need additional resources to focus on your deployments. You probably don't have a team of in-house experienced deployment resources either, like project managers, equipment procurement teams, staging teams, cabling teams, installation teams, and on and on. So again, this means you need experienced resources to focus on your deployments. As for multiple projects with multiple vendors, you need a single point of contact managing all the vendors. The complexity of infrastructure technology solution in today's world is really driving the need for seamless management. Technology projects are projects. They have a definite beginning and a definite ending. So you need to be able to scale those resources. Any good managed services company will have those resources on staff to do just that, scalable resources. And last but not least is you want to meet your schedule, you want to be within budget, and you want to do everything you were asked to do. That's a lot easier said than done. And many of you are probably shaking your head yes. So use those managed services experts who have harvested best practices and know how to avoid these costly mistakes. Bottom line, you need to focus on your core services and let the managed services experts focus on their core services that they do 100% of the time. So once you've made that critical decision to bring in someone to help you, your top priority is to make sure the help you bring in has the expertise and experience necessary to meet the requirements of your deployment. After all, they are there to make your life easier. So these are the things you should consider when doing deployments. Okay, top right, product procurement. Let's say you need a pen pad from this company, you need a printer from that company, you need a scanner from this company, and so on, right? You get the picture. Make sure the company that you hire can do it all for you, that they can procure all the different pieces and parts that you need from all the different vendors. Some companies out there say they can do all this. You have to dig deep enough to know that they can. And make sure they take care of OBF, out-of-box failures. Some refer to this as DOAs. So any top managed services company will take this headache off your plate. Moving on to site prep. Think power, think cabling, think existing equipment. Do you know what's in your stores? I would imagine there's a fair number of you shaking your head no. So before you do the deployment, do a site survey to find out what's in your stores. Site surveys are often overlooked, but in reality, they can save you money and time by avoiding costly aborts and revisits. In a nutshell, site surveys capture actionable info so the store is not impacted during install. So collect the actionable data and address it. Next is staging and integration, one of my favorite because its main purpose is to reduce installation time on site, which is so very important to retailers, right? Important to you? How is that done? It is done by integrating all the procured equipment into a ready-to-go plug-and-play register. It's done by pre-assembling equipment, preloading drives, doing some store personalization, doing some store peripheral testing and system testing, tagging assets, capturing serial numbers, and replacing OBS, out-of-box failures, before this even ships to the store. All this is done before it even ships to the store. Next is installation, the crucial step in your overall satisfaction with your deployment. Installations must include experienced installers. This is the highest visibility part of your project, right? Your customers see this. You don't want inexperienced techs touching anything in your stores. If your rollout is national, then ensure your company has national-wide coverage and geographically dispersed resources. That saves you travel costs. Make sure they install during off-peak hours. Make sure they have replacement parts in their van for any potential issues that might happen on site. That means no downtime in your stores. If you're doing controller upgrades, make absolutely, positively sure you have experienced resources. I've heard of way too many inexperienced techs taking down stores. That costs you considerably. So, again, installation, critical, experienced resources is a must. Next is disposal and recovery. So what do you do with the stuff that's deinstalled? Good question. Resell it if it has value. But if you're like most retailers, it's probably so old you need to dispose of it, right? What if you have sensitive information on your hard drives? And most retailers do. Ensure the company that you hire can do hard drive destruction using Department of Defense guidelines, and they can provide you with a certificate of destruction. You don't want hard drive information getting into the wrong hands. And to round out the circle is maintenance. What happens when the new stuff is installed? What happens if it breaks? Who makes sure it's up and running? Make sure the managed services company you hire can maintain the solution that you install. Think wall-to-wall maintenance when asking about services. Do the benefits of hiring a managed services team to do your deployment outweigh the cost? I can tell you yes. Yes, it does. Based on my years of experience and rollout experience with all types of retailers, I've seen the following. Lanes are up faster because successful, experienced teams have efficient processes and measure their results. In fact, it's about 50 to 60% more efficient to use a managed services team than trying to do it in-house. In addition, experience drives the least amount of time on site, meaning less business disruption. And important to many retailers is a successful deployment means scope, cost, and schedule are carefully monitored, measured, and tracked, meaning you will see your investment dollars realized faster. So we talked about this earlier, but it's important enough to mention again. You want your lanes, your new lanes, up and ringing sales as soon as physically possible, right? In my experience, the two most important factors in achieving those results are integrating all the procured equipment in a ready-to-go plug-and-play. How is that done? Pre-assembling equipment, preloading hard drives, doing system and peripheral testing, all before it ships to the store. When you hire a managed services team, this is done before it even gets shipped to the store. When it comes to installation, and also ensuring the managed service company you hire can do off-peak hours and overnight installations. Doing so allows them least amount of traffic and minimal customer impact, not to mention impact to your own team, right? You want the lanes up and running when the traffic is highest. Here are some best practices for deployments. Plan, pilot, rollout, closeout. The planning phase is the most important phase. It's the number one reason why projects succeed or fail. If you hire a successful, experienced managed service company, they will insist on planning. They will take the time to gain customer sponsorship and identify stakeholders. They will assign experienced deployment resources to your project. They will create staging and installation processes. They will perform risk planning and mitigation planning. They will develop a communication and escalation plan, as well as give you access to their online project management database. Planning is the difference between finishing your project on time and on budget or not. Piloting is the next stage, and it's often overlooked, but it's a critical step, and it also gives your team confidence that they are ready to move into the next rollout phase. Giving your team confidence to move into the next rollout phase is very important. If you haven't tested your solution, you will run into problems. I've seen that happen so many times on so many projects. Piloting is not done, and the project is halted because of so many issues that occur. If your pilot isn't successful, fix the issues and try again until it is successful. Then you can move to rollout. Okay, on to rollout. Ramp up slow. You don't want to jackrabbit out of the gate only to find an issue that wasn't discovered during pilot. Resolving an issue at 5 stores is much easier than 50 stores. Okay, next to rollout. This is steady state. This is where you're monitoring. Your managed services team is monitoring the schedule, the scope, and the budget to ensure all is well. Ramp down slowly. You don't want to be up against your deadline with 25% of your stores left to install. You want to meet your deadline, not test your deadline. Last is closeout when the contract's satisfied and lessons learned are done. Any good managed services company will always do lessons learned. So what is the cost to you by not incorporating these best practices into your deployment? Well, here's a scary statistic that I'm going to read to you that comes from a 2016 survey by Information Technology Intelligence Consulting. As many as 98% of all types of organizations reported that the average cost of just 1 hour of downtime, was more than $100,000. And 81% said the cost exceeded $300,000. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is just one single lane. So here's the message. Don't scrimp. Don't scrimp on the expertise. It could be costly. Expertise that assures you have a partner with a big picture view of your overall deployment and understands all aspects of each phase. Expertise that gets you proven experience, both in the technical aspects of the deployment lifecycle and in customer satisfaction. Expertise that gives you peace of mind knowing that you have a partner that fully understands every minute a register is not ringing sales is costing you money. So you as a retailer, you decide to roll out new equipment to your stores. Why? To help you manage your business better, to give you better information, and to give your end customer a better experience, right? You have invested considerable time in research. You feel confident that you have chosen the right product. You've invested significant capital in providing your customers with the latest and greatest. And your team is excited about the new technology. You are ready to go. So it's important to ensure you have solid technology. And that starts with hiring a managed services team that can procure all your equipment, perform your site surveys, perform your site prep, do the staging and pre-assembling of the equipment before it ships to the store, install during off-peak hours, and maintain it once it's installed. In a nutshell, eliminating in-store disruptions. You need an expert team that is geographically dispersed that can service any store, anywhere. A team that can do it cheaper, faster, and more efficiently than putting your own team on the road. A team that includes support resources so that any challenge can be met and overcome with a knowledgeable retail rollout help desk. This means you aren't getting the calls in the middle of the night for tech support, which is so important. All with one goal in mind, to improve the in-store experience of your customers so they know you value their time by giving them the most efficient shopping experience possible. 88% of consumers want a faster checkout. 50% state long lines are their top shopping complaint. With all that in mind, here's the one nugget from today's webinar. Choose a partner wisely. Thank you for your time today, and I hope it was valuable. And I'll turn it back over to Debbie.
Thanks again to Diana. I'm sure all of our participants and their colleagues are taking home a lot of great information they can use in order to improve their businesses with managed services. So before we begin our Q&A, I'd like to remind the audience to please share your feedback on this session and the webinar series by taking a very quick survey. There are two ways to take it, by clicking on the icon circled in red or waiting until the session concludes when it will launch automatically. Thanks again for your feedback. So at this time, we can begin our Q&A with our speakers. We've received some questions from the audience, and we also have some other questions. So the first question is, how do you know if you don't have the right resources?
Well, I'm assuming this question is coming from a retailer asking about their in-house resources. So there's really two keys. One is to evaluate your core competencies as a business and decide if the resources you have in-house are better utilized staying focused on your business rather than a one-time or seasonal effort. Second, you may have some really good technology people who can wow everyone. But a deployment activity activity that doesn't occur every day, so anticipating all the activities that must occur in a rollout, like everything else, comes with experience. So evaluating these two items, and you'll know whether or not you have the right resources.
All right, terrific. Another question is, how do you know if a managed services team has the knowledge to complete a system with multiple vendors?
That's an easy one. One word, experience. There's no substitute for experience, and trying to manage the challenges of using multiple vendors should not be done with a company who is new to technology. I would say dig into the company's experience, and then you'll need to know what you need to know.
Okay, great. Another question coming in from the audience. What if I want to do part of the deployment myself and hire a managed services team for the rest?
That's actually a strategy that's not uncommon. And my advice is to start small so you don't know how the two companies will work together and get to know each other as partners before launching into a large-scale project that has significant financial impact to a company. And it really is about working together. So if you can work together with this company, that's fantastic. But you also got to think about accountability. So accountability is important from an end-to-end perspective. So there's no finger pointing, if you will. So accountability is important as well.
All right, great. And here's a question that's probably an issue for a lot of people in the audience. How do you convince senior management to outsource to a managed services company instead of deciding to do it in-house?
That's a great question, and I'll refer back to one of my slides that showed downtime. 1 hour of downtime is worth $100,000 to some retailers, and some even said it exceeded $300,000. So when you talk about facts, you talk about numbers, and senior managers listen when you quote reliable statistics about financial impact to your company. It's all about available time or downtime.
Very good point. Okay. All right, so I think that we're going to wrap up, and I want to remind our audience, if you have questions that we were not able to get to, Diana will be able to follow up with you after the session.
Okay, great. Thank you guys so much.